Hey everyone, thanks for your support in 2024. We have a lot of cool stuff coming in 2025, and here are some of the things you can look forward to as we move into next year. In the lead up to The Mandalorian and Grogu in 2026, we'll be starting a full series rewatch of both The Mandalorian and The Book of Boba Fett on exploring hyperspace lanes beginning in October. You can also expect a rewatch of Andor, and we will have reviews of every episode of Andor and the rest of the Skeleton Crew as those come out. Josie will be returning as we continue to rank every Star Wars thing released ever. Reviews of every episode of every Marvel Disney Plus show, including Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, The Eyes of Wakanda, Wonder Man, Ironheart, Daredevil Born Again, and Marvel Zombies, the day after each episode releases, will be available on Beware of Spoilers. We'll be having special event podcasts on 30-minute reviews for the Academy Awards, our 2024 year in review in early January, ranking all of Phase 5 of the MCU after Fantastic Four First Steps comes out, and our 10th anniversary special. Once we complete our rankings of all the Pokemon games on the backlog files, we'll be moving on to Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy. Over on the YouTube channel, you can join in for playthroughs of Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga, Pokemon White, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue Rescue Team, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, Kingdom Hearts Recoded, Mario Golf Toadstool Tour, Sonic Adventure 2, LEGO Racers 2, LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga, and SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom. Want to keep on top of all the new things we have coming? Subscribe at mwpnews.com, subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com/@mwpnews, or subscribe to Beware of Spoilers, 30-minute reviews, exploring hyperspace lanes, and the backlog files on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Again, thank you for your support. Good morning and welcome, well afternoon. I keep forgetting to do that. It's a good indicator of when I record this. And welcome to Beware of Spoilers. I am Adam. It is Ash Wednesday, which I feel like that was a choice for this show. To put Daredevil Born Again, have it start Mardi Gras. Really, it's going to be the topic of conversation on Ash Wednesday, and then it's going to be, we're going to get through the season. It's going to end on the Tuesday before Easter. That all feels like a conscious decision, so that's cool, I guess. But regardless, I've been waiting for this for a long time. I think I've been vocal on this show over the years, and I think it's fair to say that Daredevil is probably my favorite character, of Marvel and DC. He's my favorite character. I'm amped anytime he shows up. He shows up in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, I'm amped. He shows up in No Way Home, I'm amped. He shows up in She-Hulk, I'm here for it. Put him anywhere, I'm here for it. I love that Daredevil's getting the attention he's doing. And it's such a weird thing that this character, out of all of the characters, is the one that's getting all of this attention being brought in after, as they're expanding out the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And maybe it is the fact that he was really the first big TV star, for Marvel television. Because, I think it's safe to say that, when we talk about Marvel TV in the era before the MCU consolidation at the end of Phase 3, it's depending on who you ask, it's either going to be Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or Daredevil, and I think more people would go with Daredevil as the better show and more consistent show, even if Season 2 was a little wonky. Now, I think that Born Again is a good follow-up. I don't think it's as good, and I think there are a few choices that are made that I'm that's a little weird. I feel like the acrobatics of it is more in line with the comics, but it doesn't quite feel like It doesn't quite feel like a something that they should have done on this show. Because it doesn't feel in line with what we saw from him in the original show. They do that in, in She-Hulk, but it feels like an expansion of Daredevil in a way that I'm that wasn't what this character did then. That feels weird. But regardless, the point is, like, I think there are definitely, and the thing is, too, it's like, it would be fine if the CGI was better. The CGI is a little weak on that, which is what kind of makes it a tougher pill to swallow. Because it's like that, it's distractingly bad, where it's like, this is like, in the first episode, in the opening minutes before you even get to, the main crux of the story, it's kind of just the inciting incident for the series. It's like we see him doing acrobatic shit on rooftops, stuff like that. I'm like, alright, cool. But at the same time, it's like the CGI isn't quite there for this, so I don't know why you decided to go this way. Like, this wasn't something you needed to do. And I guess it, looks less weird than him running down the street for what that scene is supposed to be, but at the same time, it just does kind of feel like, okay, the CGI is not here. And then for the fact that we don't see him again in costume for the rest of the episode, and then episode 2, almost the entirety of episode 2, he's not in costume. He's not in costume at all in episode 2. We see him fight a little bit in episode 2 at the very end. It just feels weird. It feels like an odd choice that's kind of like, well, why was this not, why like, what was the budget on this? It just doesn't look great. Beyond that, I was shocked at the choice. I mean, and again, the title is Beware of Spoilers, and we do talk about, the shows, and we've done this before. This isn't the first time we've done this. So there will be spoilers, but so if you don't want to know what happens, it's the inciting incident for the entire series, so let's just cut it a little bit of slack. But the very beginning of this show opens with the death of Foggy. And I did not think that was going to be how they were going to open this. It came completely out of left field, for me at least. It came out, and it was kind of like, not, like, I don't think it was a bad choice. I think it was a fine choice to do that. And this idea that, like, oh, okay, asshole. Like, I think it was a fine choice to do that. But at the same time, I don't think it was necessarily the smartest, like, it's one of those that catch you completely off guard. And then it's like, the other issue with that is I don't think you needed to take away Karen with that too. So getting rid of both of them, getting rid of both Foggy and Karen out of the gate, is one of those weird things that, like, oh, that's a little weird. I have a feeling I know where this is going, but we'll see. Because again, Born Again is in the title. I think we're going to see something else happen here. That said, a lot of stuff doesn't really work. I love the sit down with Fisk and Matt, with the two of them actually having that conversation in the diner. I love that. I think that's probably the strongest moment of both episodes. And I think that's a really interesting way to really tell that, to tell that story. Is to have these two characters who have that moment, it reminds me of Heat. This is the parlay of the protagonist and the antagonist in the opening of the show, and it's like, by the end of the show, these two are going to come to blows. But this is them sitting down and being like, look, we both have our lines in the sand, don't cross each other, and this won't be an issue. And I think it's a really interesting way to do that. I love this idea of Fisk becoming mayor, and his whole thing being, let's get rid of the vigilantes. It's a great choice. And here's the thing. I really like the device that they're doing with BB. The device where she is kind of just she's telling the story of how everyone's reacting to what's happening, and we get these man on the street interviews. It feels very Frank Miller. And it definitely, the thing it reminded me immediately of was The Dark Knight Returns. But it's this thing where it's we're getting people all over giving their responses to what's happening, and I love that, because it's one of the things that really worked about the show was this idea, the original show was this idea that, like, Hell's Kitchen is as much a character as, you know, Matt or Foggy or Karen or Wilson Fisk or anyone like that. Hell's Kitchen is as much a character and as important of a character as any of them. And I'm a sucker when they do that. You get that all over the place, this idea of, like, the setting is a part of it. This just goes to articulating the sentiment of that in a way that's more overt, and I think that is to the benefit of the show. My issue with this is, and this is going to be an all-out assault on vigilantes in New York. The issue that I kind of have with it is, I would like to see more vigilantes in New York dealing with this, because there are a bunch. He references Spider-Man in his inaugural speech, not his inaugural speech, in his victory speech. We are going to, or the announcement of his candidacy. Either way, he very clearly references Spider-Man. He references Daredevil. He references White Tiger, who's active in the MCU in the show. These are all, you know, interesting things. But you also have Hawkeye, who's active in New York. You also have Echo, who is active in New York. You also have, who was the other one? Like, Miss Marvel is close enough to New York that it's like, well, let's see what's going on here. Wiccan is reasonably close to New York. Like, you have all of these characters who are, like, a stone's throw away, who can be brought up, but they're not being referenced. And I think that this is kind of part of my bigger issue with kind of where we are with the MCU at this point. And we've talked about this before. I talked about it definitely with Brave New World. This idea that, like, one of the things that really works about Endgame, and when you listen to the director's commentary, you can or the commentary track on that DVD, you can hear them talk about it. This idea that, like, okay, we need someone to be the the guardian of the Soul Stone. Okay, well, can we use Red Skull? Because last we saw him, he got poofed away to God knows where, so he's out there somewhere, so can we use him as that guardian? Okay, sure, that works. And in a way, it's like you have this vast universe, but at the same time, it feels kind of cohesive and kind of, not smaller feels like the wrong word, but it definitely doesn't feel as, it feels like we're using characters smartly. I like White Tiger, and I hope we get more White Tiger. I don't know if necessarily we are going to get more White Tiger in the near future. I know, and I found this out in the credits of episode 2, the actor who plays White Tiger passed away. So I don't know if they're going to pass it on to his daughter, like the comics, but either way, the point is, like, there are other avenues you can take to do this. I don't know if White Tiger was necessarily the move here as the first character we're introducing. A interesting thing would have been, like, Jessica Jones could have filled the same role. Like, it was never going to be Spider-Man. Let's just get that out of the way. Like, I don't think Spider-Man appears on this show. I think the rights issues that go into a Spider-Man appearance in a TV show are just too vast. Although, I don't know if Sony owns the rights to that. It's a weird situation. I know they own the theatrical rights. I don't know if they own the television rights. So, whatever, it is what it is. But I don't think that's likely. But, like, it could have been Kate Bishop. It could have been Kamala Khan. It could have been, it could have been, there are so many characters that could have been, or even from the Defenders verse, it could have been Luke Cage. It could have been, Jessica Jones, like I said. But for it to be White Tiger, it feels like an odd choice. It's like, I don't have any attachment to this character yet. Like, this character is brand new, and I don't know that there are other characters you could have used who did who would have been able to fill kind of the same role, who are characters we already know. And I feel like that would have had greater impact on what this show is. Which is, a small nitpick. The other small nitpick I had is the way that Fisk becomes mayor. They talk about how there's a recall election of the current mayor who would be the next mayor in real life. So to put that in a little bit of context, there's a mayoral election now in 2025 is the election, which means that the next election after this would be 2029. Because the mayor is 4-year terms or 6-year terms? It's 4-year terms. Because Eric Adams was elected during the pandemic. So that would put this in 2029. Just to give everyone a frame of reference as to where we are. Because this guy is, Fisk is the 112th mayor, Adams is the 110th. Therefore, whoever wins next not only is mayor, but also is recalled. So it's a weird situation all around. Because this is the nitpick that I have, is there's no avenue to recall elected official in New York State. There is no legal avenue to do that. It's kind of you elect them, and then you're just kind of stuck with them until the end of their term. So I don't know why they went with a recall as part of this. I guess it's just to, showcase that this more authoritarian slant that's kind of taken over the MCU is more urgent and imminent than previously thought. Because I think that's kind of the thing that we have to deal with in the MCU at this point, is that it appears Thanos' snap created kind of a red wave of sorts, where it's like, again, they don't say political parties, they don't say what party Wilson Fisk ran on, but you can kind of suss out what it is, based on his policy, and based on, his rhetoric, and based on the fact that he won because of Staten Island. You can kind of suss out that he ran on the Republican ticket. And that's the thing, is that he's running on fear, he's running on rising crime, and he's running on the fact that we shouldn't have to trust the vigilantes to do this. That is an interesting place to put this character and the wider universe as a whole, because I do think it's not outside the realm of understanding that the MCU, in the wake of everything that's happened, would end up in this place where it's like people are scared, and they're looking for the strong man who can tell them it'll be okay. Like, half the universe got wiped out for 5 years and then came back, and the Avengers couldn't save them. So you need someone who's like, I will be the strong man the Avengers couldn't be. I buy that for a voting populace. And I think that's an interesting approach. And the idea that it's, I like what they're doing with this. Hopefully this leads into Devil's Reign. That's what I'm kind of hoping for. And it'll be interesting to see if it does and how it does. Because I think that could be a really interesting thing to put into this show. Or put into the MCU, this idea that, like, we get basically a full authoritarian takedown, or a full authoritarian takeover of New York City under Wilson Fisk as mayor. I like that idea. That could be a really cool idea. They're probably a few years out from that. I mean, in the show, not real life. But let's see how that kind of all plays out. That's why it's not cooling off in here properly, because I have the fucking wrong thing on. But yeah, it's an interesting place to put this show, and I think that I'm very interested to see where it goes. To put Matt's struggle as he doesn't want to be Daredevil anymore because he couldn't save Foggy. It's a really smart place to put this character, because I think it grounds him in a way that he wasn't grounded previously. Where it's like, yeah, all this shit's happening, and yeah, he takes a lot of punishment, but like that fight with Bullseye took a lot out of him. It took took his best friend, and then on top of that too, not only that, but it did like, he got stabbed quite a few times during that fight. He had quite a few knives sticking out of him. it's an interesting situation. I don't know. Let's see where the rest of the season goes. I'm higher on this show than maybe I should be, but let's see where it goes. I would like to see more vigilantes kind of show up. If that's going to be the crux of this show, use the show in the way kind of She-Hulk did. And I know that's going to sound sacrilege. I know a lot of people don't like She-Hulk, but I feel like if you're watching this show or you're listening to this show, you know where I fall on She-Hulk. I feel like She-Hulk is kind of misunderstood, and I think it does a really good job kind of fleshing out some of the more street-level nonsense that's happening in the MCU by introducing all these random-ass people with powers, and that's kind of what She-Hulk is dealing with. He's dealing with these random people with powers. And low-level powers. So, like, I kind of want to see that happen here a little bit. Flesh out kind of what these other people with powers are doing and what it is, but obviously be more serious take where it wouldn't be the comedic stuff with, like, you know, Frogman and shit like that. Like, it's curious that this is, you know, this is what they're doing, and we know Punisher's coming. We know Punisher is on the horizon somewhere. We don't know when he's showing up. We know that he will be showing up. I have a feeling this is going to be like a She-Hulk thing where Punisher's going to show up in the penultimate episode, so everyone who wants to see Punisher shows up every week. But we'll see more concretely when he finally makes his appearance. I think that's as good a place as I need to wrap up for today. So on the schedule for this week, we have The River Has Roots, which is a new book that just came out from the writer of This Is How You Lose the Time War. I'm very excited for that. I have it on my Audible app, so I'll start listening to that. We'll probably be doing that Friday. On Thursday, we have Mickey 17, the new movie from Bong Joon-ho, that I'm very much interested in, and a lot of people are very much interested in that. That's coming out then, and we will see, you know, we'll see how good that is. I haven't read any reviews of it. I've only seen the trailer. I'm very interested in it. I want to see what happens here. Then we have, what was the other big movie? We'll be doing Queen of the Ring on Saturday. Queen of the Ring, the new movie with Emily Bett Rickards. And the other big thing was, next Wednesday we'll be doing Black Bag. We'll be seeing an advanced screening of Black Bag. There was one other thing that I wanted to... what the fuck was it? Later today, we'll have up an episode for the Backlog Files for Yu-Gi-Oh! The Early Days collection. Next week on the Backlog Files, we will be talking about Balatro, which has become my new obsession. And yeah, we will wrap up there for today. Our next episode will be tomorrow for Mickey 17. So until then, have a great rest of your week.